So I'm here working on my landslide here, and currently putting on this part number transverse drive shaft set. It's basically the same as the stock ones, but the difference is this output here, this universal output here, is shorter. So you can see that this one, if it came on to where lining it up to the stock one, you can see how much more how much shorter this new part is. And basically what this part is, it's basically the axle set for the buggy version of the truck. um, so if to work on this, I'll bring the camera over closer over here. The landslide and all the cars based on the Blazer buggies, as well as the Terremoto 10, which also uses the same suspension and axle design. The axle is set up like this. So what I originally thought was just a long hub extender. The reason that this part doesn't break is because it's actually this whole universal shaft. You can see how thick this piece is. It is hollowed out in the middle, and when you look at it, there's no clear way to take it off. You don't see a grub screw or anything in there. You just see a pin, but if you try to punch the pin out, it won't come out. So basically, how you work on this thing, what you do is there is actually a right here on the end of it, you can see there. I'll put the end of my screwdriver in. You can see there's a hole there, and basically if you stick your screwdriver all the way in here, it's a 2 millimeter hex head driver. You'll feel a little grub screw like this in there, so you can pull that out. So once you pull that out, essentially what that grub screw does is it holds in this pin right here, and you have to kind of punch it out. Again, you can use your 2 millimeter screwdriver, put it on there like that, hold this with something, and then slowly kind of like tap it out lightly with a hammer, and slowly you will get this pin out, and it should just pull out like that. So don't lose that pin, because the kit doesn't give you a new pin. You have to reuse that. The pin actually comes with this hub part, and then this part just slides off. And you can see here, it's a pretty unique design because the actual stub, the threaded part, where the wheel actually attaches to, is part of the actual hex. Usually the hex is just a hex with a circle on it, and then the threaded part is part of the axle. What they've done here is put the threaded part on the hex, and I actually really like this design, because that means if you ever damage your threads on your hex and you can't get your wheel nut back on or anything like that, you don't have to replace your entire axle. You can just replace this tiny little aluminum part. They come in a set of 4. You can just replace this part, and then you're all set to go, because obviously the axles are going to be a lot more expensive. I think even these just shortened axles cost me like over 20 bucks each, so not a cheap part. I mean, you can see here the rest of that extender is literally, it's just a collar. It's just an aluminum collar that goes around, and then you can literally just undo these these screws for the hub here, and the part will just come right out. So I will do that right now. And then that part will come off. And then you should be able to slide your axle off. This is what happens right here if you don't dry it properly. It will get a little rusty. So you can see my little rusty little end there. Yeah. But do believe for the new axle, I have to reuse this universal drive shaft pin. So I'll take that out, move all that away, grab the new axle, line up the hole with the little slot. I believe that's how it's set up. Is there another piece in here? No, it's literally just a pin. Yeah, so you just line this up with that hole. Just put that pin in. And then put your collar on. This collar will kind of just friction fit on there. Like that. And your universal is set up. So now all that is left to do is simply, there's a lot of rust in there. Simply pop this guy back in. And essentially the hub will keep the collar on, which will keep the universal drive shaft pin on. So it's actually a pretty simple yet pretty good design. I really like how that is. It's also surprisingly easy to work on. So that's also a major plus for a truck like this, because you really don't want to spend a lot of time on the bench trying to figure out how to work on your truck and then also spend time working on your truck. You just want to be able to quickly just work on the truck without much hassle and then get back to driving as soon as possible. So there are some crazy people out there that enjoy this part of the hobby more than the actual driving. Not that I don't enjoy this part, but I much rather be outside driving. But yep, you got that part on there. And then we just have to put this piece on. And then screw this guy back in, and then you should be set. So let me screw this guy back in real quick. And then now you have this pin here. You won't need the collar anymore because the collar basically just takes up the whole space now. But you can see this hole there. I'm not sure if you can see it in the shadow of my camera here, but a little back. Right there, you can see that hole. You want to take your hub piece again. Make sure the axle doesn't slide back. You just want to slide this guy back on. And then make sure the holes are lined up. And then stick this pin back in. I did it, rotate it over so the pin doesn't fall out. And then simply take your grub screw and put it back in. The new axle here actually has a grub screw in it already. So I'm just going to use the one that's in it. So just tighten that guy back down here. And make sure it's nice and tight. I want to use a pair of pliers to hold the hex so I can tighten this down. Sorry if the camera shakes. It's kind of hard to work in front of the camera without shaking it. But let me see if we can get over here. Make sure that it's as tight as possible. I didn't really see any Loctite on the stock part. And I really didn't have any issue with the part coming out, so I don't think I'll Loctite that at the moment. But if you are concerned about it, you can Loctite it. There's no harm in doing it. I just would rather, I don't know. Actually, I think I talked myself into doing it, but I'll do it off camera. But yep. So if you guys were wondering how to work on the Landslide, these axles here, it's a pretty unique design as far as I've seen. So if you guys want to know how to work on this, now you know. So hopefully that is helpful. I know there's not a lot of videos on this truck, working on this truck and stuff. So hopefully this is definitely helpful. So if you guys found this video helpful or enjoyable to watch or whatever, leave me a like, comment down below, all that good YouTube shenanigans. And as I work on this truck more, I will be posting more of these little videos showing you guys how to work on this truck, because ultimately you want to be able to go out and drive as soon as possible. So yep, I get my buggy wheel back on there. So and then put the wheel hub on. And I'll see you guys next time.